All right, without further ado, we are proud to welcome Uncle TJ from the Buccaneer Radio Network. We are going to tell a couple of stories from this 97 game that we've been referencing in the No Quarter Given podcast. And Uncle TJ is here with a couple of stories. Welcome back, TJ.
So we're now so informal, I don't even get a last name. I love that. I love that about this. I love the No Quarter Given podcast going over the opponents. And let's be honest, there's not been very many good memories against the Miami Dolphins. Now, some of them recently, but when you're talking about the all-time memory in this series, I don't know that you can beat the 97 game. Just for the start of the season, the unbeaten year, the fact that Dan Marino's playing for the Dolphins, this is ideal. And I'm looking forward to reminiscing with you with a couple of stories. I promise I'm going to deliver here on No Quarter Given.
And the reason I say Uncle TJ, because everybody in the Buccaneer fan nation knows TJ Rives from the sidelines. There's no last name needed.
Exactly.
You've been like Mean Gene. Now, tell the audience, how long have you been with the Buccaneer organization?
This is the 17th year I've done the sideline role. I have been on and off the game broadcast for 21 total seasons. So I have been around. Are you trying to make me out to be old? I don't have the 36 years in that Mean Gene Deckerhoff has in the Hall of Famer, but he and I enjoy doing this along with Dave Moore. And I know we were trying to get 83 on this podcast because he was part of that 97 turnaround in the pewter uniforms and part of that win over the Miami Dolphins to go 4-0. But I will stand in for him and tell you a couple of stories. So,
all right, one thing I don't think I've ever asked you this, and might as well ask it on the No Quarter Given podcast. How did you get the Buccaneer sideline job?
That's a great question. I bribed the right people and called in the right favors. Actually, I had done a bunch of different work in and around the Buccaneer broadcast, and the sideline job actually came open in 2005. And it came in combination with hosting John Gruden's radio show, as well as a rotating player, a different player every week radio show. So the offer was all encompassing. It was about three things at once. It was so long ago that there really wasn't much on Buccaneers.com to even do. That's how old I'm getting, Jason. But that was the offer. And so I have done that now since 2005. So this is year 17 of getting to be part of Buccaneers radio and all that we do.
And one more thing before we get to the stories. People don't realize back in 1997, it was a Sunday night game, correct?
Yes.
And it wasn't Al and Chris on NBC. It was Vern Lundquist
and Pat Hayden
on TNT.
On TNT, right. Because at this time period, they had split up the Sunday night game on cable.
Yep.
Remember now, for many years, ESPN had it exclusively, but they only did like the last 8 games of the year. They didn't do the first 8.
Mike Patrick, Joe Theismann.
Yes. And then TNT came in, Turner came in with Vern Lundquist and Pat Hayden, and then eventually ESPN paid them enough money where they got all 16 games themselves. So you're right. This is Sunday night TNT football with Vern Lundquist and Pat Hayden, and
this is
I got to tell you, I still remember a bunch about this game like it was yesterday, and I don't want to accept that it was 24 years ago at the time that we're taping No Quarter
Given. You were a young man, my man. You were in your mid-20s, living the dream in Tampa, Florida.
I know.
So this is year 2, I believe, of Tony Dungy.
Correct.
They're on a big run to start the year. They start off with 5-0. This is the 5th game?
This is the 4th game. The 5th game was the next week against Arizona.
Okay.
This is that'll be your No Quarter Given next week. There's a tease. Well, actually, you're going by opponents, but the Arizona Cardinals were the 5th opponent that season, and this was Dan Marino and the Dolphins. I don't know if I haven't gotten to listen back because you're interviewing me before the podcast is released. Did you and Peter mention Warren Sapp did not play in this game?
We did not.
Warren Sapp ankle injury is in street clothes on the sideline, and that was a big deal, obviously, because the defense was just starting to come together and take the next steps. And Warren Sapp did not play in the Sunday night Miami game due to an ankle injury. I still remember him standing over there with his Buccaneer T-shirt, shorts, and Air Jordan tennis shoes. And you're like, man, how much are they going to miss not having Big 99 in there?
And remember, this is Jimmy Johnson coaching the Dolphins with Marino.
Correct. That's correct. Jimmy Johnson had come out of the Fox broadcast booth to coach the Miami Dolphins. Very true.
Let's get to story number one. Let's go.
Okay, so the play that game is known for. I mean, there were a lot of different plays and big moments in the game, but the play is the Warrick Dunn screen pass in the fourth quarter. So as you mentioned, at this time, I was not on the game broadcast. I was working 5-day-a-week sports radio in this town. I was on a media credential. I was in the old Tampa Stadium press box, and there was overflow media for that night because of the Dolphins and Marino. So we weren't in the first level of the press box. We were up in the top of the press box, almost the crow's nest for a lot of us in the overflow radio, extra TV, not the writers. The writers were so valued back in the 90s. So we're up in the top of the press box
of old school Tampa Stadium.
Old school Tampa Stadium. Up in the top. All right. The walk with all the aluminum seats and no seat backs.
Yeah.
So when Warrick Dunn caught that screen pass, and again, you need to go to buckpower.com and relive the game like you've been promoting with the Miami Dolphins, Sunday Night Football 1997. You'll see the Dunn screen pass from Trent Dilfer. When those blocks were thrown, and I think Frank Middleton is one of the guys that got the block. I mean, they're perfect blocks to free up Warrick Dunn. And when he accelerates through the hole with a chance to score the clinching touchdown to basically put the game away, the Dolphins' hopes were being crushed right there on that play.
And real quick. I believe it was 3rd and 28 or 3rd and
something
long.
Like that.
It was like 3rd and really long.
And of course, Mike Shula is the play caller, the son of Don Shula. And he calls the screen pass, and it works to perfection with the lead blocks. Dunn has the seam. He's like lightning between the seam and to the sideline for a touchdown. And I exaggerate you not, when he broke free at about the 40 or the 30, the press box was shaking below us. Wow. I thought it might be a little rumble, a little earthquake. It's the first time I had ever experienced that at Tampa Stadium in any part of the stadium. And granted, we were about as high up as you could get in the stadium. The floor was shaking below us when Warrick Dunn was running in the end zone. It was a wild thing that I obviously remember even to this day, that there have been loud moments in Tampa Stadium previously, loud moments obviously in Raymond James Stadium, but I will always remember Sunday night with the Dolphins when Warrick Dunn caught that ball, because I don't know if they felt the rumble in other parts of Tampa Stadium or on Northdale Maybury or in the neighborhoods around Himes Avenue, Martin Luther King, if they felt the rumble, but we felt the rumble in the press box when he scored. And needless to say, that was game over at that moment.
And the current analyst for the Buccaneers, Dave Moore, he provided the last block, I believe, on that play that sealed the run for Warrick Dunn to get in the end zone.
I think 83 was on the field. We got to find him. We got to ask him. So he was out there on the field on that. And again, Warrick was a special player. I remember Derek Brooks lobbied so hard for the Buccaneers to draft him in the first round after he'd played with him at Florida State. And that was his rookie year, by the way, 1997. What a coming out party. I still remember that. You remember the ad on ESPN TV when they were doing the ESPN magazine ad, when ESPN magazine had just come out, and they were doing a spoof, and you had Warrick Dunn doing the famous sarcastic line, "I'm not going to do cat fancy." He kept saying that, "I'm not going to do cat fancy," because they were trying to have him do cat fancy on the cover of ESPN, the magazine. It was all because of that. The Bucs have been on the cover of Sports Illustrated a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think after that Dolphin game, they were on it again. They were on it after the 49er game. I mean, that was a big deal. On the cover of ESPN, the magazine, they're talking about you all over the country on USA Today, ESPN. Again, the internet's not even really a big thing at this point, but it was wild. It was wild. So yes, that's my story in the stadium. That's
all right. So I missed the one thing I really missed. I missed Warrick Dunn by 1 year at Florida State. He came in the year after I left. I got to play with Derek for a year when me and Derek are about, he's either one, I think we're the exact same age, to be honest with you. We were the same class. And I remember Derek came into Florida State as like a 200-pound linebacker. I mean, he was nothing. I mean, he was never the biggest guy in the world, even in the NFL, but he was like 200 pounds playing weak side linebacker at Florida State.
And that was always the concern and the question as to whether or not he could succeed in the NFL at under 240, because remember, most of the linebackers back in that day didn't run as much and were 240, 250. And Derek was coming in maybe 220, probably 215, trying to play linebacker. And Rich McKay and Tony Dungy said to anybody that would listen in 95, 96, of course, he was here in 95 with Sam White before, but Tony Dungy in particular, 96, 97, this guy's as good as any linebacker in the league. Tackling machine. Hall of Fame now.
And
so obviously they were right about it. Do you want one more story off
yes,
the Dolphin Buccaneer
yes.
game? Better than the ground rumbling under me in the press box. This is why you listen on No Quarter Given and make sure you subscribe. So my in-laws are the biggest homer die-in-the-wool Dolphin fans you can imagine, and they have been living hard. They have been downtrodden. The Dolphins have been down and out for a lot of years. Whenever we go to eat, they love to eat at Shula Steakhouse, and I always have to joke with them. You know, all the pictures around here in black and white because the Dolphins haven't done anything since color film. That's what I have to tell them. So anyway, they're big-time Dolphin fans. So my mother-in-law, God love her, she was over the top at this point. And Dan Marino's her favorite guy. You know, she's got a Dan Marino poster in her classroom as a teacher. Dolphin shirts, Dolphin coffee mug, all of it. So it got contentious in a good way between she and I, and I'm talking about it on the radio, and I even put her on the radio, and we made a wager that whoever won this game, the other person was going to have to put the opposing shirt on every Sunday for the rest of the year.
Wow.
So keep in mind, I'm not working the game broadcast, but I'm potentially going to have to wear a Miami Dolphins shirt or jersey of her choosing. But if the Bucs won, that she would have to wear a shirt of my choosing. So obviously the done play happens, the Warwick Dunn play happens, the Bucs win the game late night, Sunday night. I come in and do Monday morning sports radio and get done. And I have a Buccaneer shirt that I purchased specifically for this, a white Buccaneer t-shirt that she's now going to have to wear. And unbeknownst to her, I leave the radio station after I'm done about 10:30 in the morning after I get off the air and go straight to her elementary school in Pinellas County where she is teaching grade school in Pinellas County. I walk into the front office with the Buccaneer shirt. I say, I am here to see Mrs. Franklin. I am TJ Rives. And as soon as I say TJ Rives, I hear a voice down the hall from the office jump up, and the voice yells out, I know who you are, and I'm taking you to her room. It is the principal of the elementary school. The female principal of the elementary school is a huge Bucs fan. She is aware of the bet. She's been listening to the radio. It's not going to be a student that escorts me, Jason Powers. The principal is going to escort me to the room. So I come in the room, and my mother-in-law doesn't know that I'm showing up. She's in the middle of teaching. And the first thing is we knock on the door, and it's the principal at the door. So she's got, what have I done? The boss is here. And I'm behind the principal because I'm tall, as you know, and I've got the shirt. And we come in the classroom, and I'm now showing you this as best I can, that I presented my mother-in-law with a Buccaneer white t-shirt on the morning after that Dolphin win. She was the color of the Buccaneer red home jerseys for about 15 minutes.
There you go.
The principal's in the room. The principal is the one that took this picture with a disposable camera. No flip phones in those days. No cell phone cameras in those days. That was not even a digital camera. It was a disposable camera like you would buy at the drugstore or at Publix that took that picture, and we had to go get it developed like later in the day or the next day.
No cell phone.
Yes. Nobody knows what we're talking about in the present day. This is what you had to do with pictures. So that is the story from that year and from that game of the morning after I presented my mother-in-law with the shirt she had to wear every Sunday for the rest of that year because the Buccaneers defeated the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. 1997, Jason Powers.
All right, I'm going to ask you before I let you go. What you got to do is when we release the podcast, you need to retweet it and attach that picture. Take a picture with the cell phone and attach the picture to the tweet so the whole world can see.
So make sure they're following not only Paul's Twitter handle, which is Buck Power C. Follow Jason, JPO Sports. What
Buck
is
sideline guy. We're gonna
Buck
attach you
sideline
to
guy's
it.
me. Peter Blake's Twitter is, I think, P Blake, and it's 003. I think.
Yep, we'll have all the. Yep, I'll attach.
So we're
all
gonna
the,
get the photo up of me with my mother-in-law in 1997, because believe me when I tell you, as obnoxious, and I love her to death, and she cooks for me and makes great desserts, as obnoxious as she had been about the Dolphins, no quarter given from her son-in-law about the T-shirt bet or the shirt bet, and she had to wear a Buccaneer shirt the rest of the year because the Bucs won that game. So yeah, we'll get the photo out on social media.
Terrific stories. And the other one, last thing, and I'll get you out of here. The community started to believe in Tony Dungy and the franchise again. We had gone through some lean times. You win that kind of game against Miami on national TV, you establish yourself, hey, this team's coming.
Well, and you had beaten the
San
49ers,
Francisco,
all right, in the opening game.
Yep.
And I believe you had beaten Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, right after that in the 97 season. Division rival, had beaten Brad Johnson, by the way.
Yes.
And Randy Moss in Minnesota. But this was Dan Marino, the Hall of Famer. And the Bucs rarely, if ever, had beaten the Dolphins. I know you guys have been going over this. When 1997 rolled around, you were the punching bag for the Dolphins. So to win this game against Marino, national TV on Sunday Night Football, you are right. At that time period, the Buccaneers owned this town. Tony Dungy had changed the culture in a season and 4 games, just like they changed the uniforms at the start of the 97 season. So
the Lightning were struggling. The Lightning weren't great at that time.
The Rays had not played a game yet. They weren't in existence till 1998 the next year.
Right.
So the Bucs have always owned the town. The Tampa Bay area, they definitely own the town with the start of that year and the win over the Miami Dolphins on that Sunday night.
Great job, TJ. Keep up the great work. Tell the audience where they can find you for Sunday's game.
Listen, find us on Buccaneers Radio 98 Rock in the Tampa Bay area. You can find it on the Buccaneers mobile app in Florida. Find it through SiriusXM, TuneIn, wherever you can get it. And the Nothing But Bucs podcast. Even if you can't hear the radio broadcast, relive it all.
Yes.
Nothing But Bucs is the podcast. I give you inside analysis, game highlights with Gene and Dave calling plays, post-game interviews. Find Nothing But Bucs through the Buccaneers mobile app and wherever you get podcasts. A plug for that as well. Always good to be with you, sir.
And check out
and tell some stories.
Yeah, man. Those are the kind of stories we want to hear on No Quarter Given. And check out the Powers on Sports podcast this week, because TJ relives being in New England last weekend for the Patriots. Pre-game tribute, halftime, post-game when Belichick came in the locker room. Great stories TJ provides on that insight. So check out the Powers on Sports podcast.
The only thing I can tell you is I'm talking to you more than I'm talking to my wife and twins, and that's going to get me into trouble. But yes, Powers on Sports, you'll find me there. And I love what you and Peter are doing with No Quarter Given and reminiscing about the big games and the big moments. Love that here with this podcast. Happy to be on and help and reminisce about the Bucs.
You're the man, TJ, and we're going back to relive more Miami Dolphin highlights. We'll be right back in just a second.